We are live. It is RantCast, episode 22. RantCast being the show about all the lovely things AOS adjacent and all the rabbit holes we discover about the game we love so much. I am your host, the magical Mr. Mephisto, the man with every single opinion a person can possess. And tonight, my friend Andrew is joining me. How's it going, Andrew?
It's going well. You may not recognize me. I used to have a mustache for like 2 years.
Yeah. I don't respect this. I'm not a fan of the clean shaven Andrew. It's like, yeah,
It's going.
yeah. Hold like a paintbrush up over your lip for the entirety of the show, please, so that I'm comfortable again. You know you're gonna lose like an average of one sports vote per tournament without that fabulous
Probably.
mustache.
I used to get sports votes because of that.
Like the
So
stash
like
alone.
charisma +1.
I mean, it was very much was like a mustache of +2 charisma. It was prolific.
Honestly, it probably was +2.
Yeah. All right, man. So, like, the last time you joined me, we actually talked a little bit about, like, sort of chess and game theory in Age of Sigmar. That was a really cool show. If you haven't caught that one, I think that was, like, episode 6 or something. It was one of the really early ones before I kind of refined the process. But it's still a great episode. I think we had a lot of really good content in that. So if you're bored and you run out of RantCast, go back and watch that one. That one's really good. But yeah, Andrew and I are friends outside the game, close to what I'd consider a club mate, even though like we don't really have a club. But it's like you, Joe, me, and then you have your own loyalties with like the Wisco Kings and stuff like that too. So, but yeah, like I mean, when I was getting into the game, it was very much like you and Joe were the ones I was like very heavily talking to. So like, and about that time, you were actually still playing Everchosen, rather. Yeah, so tonight we're going to be actually talking about some Slaves to Darkness. This is very similar to what I did with the Ossiarch Bonereapers when we got the reveals. This is unabashed hype. We'll leave we'll do some tinfoil hatting. We'll do bold predictions, hopes, dreams, and just go on little journeys throughout that whole process. But first, I just want to kind of ask you, yeah, like so you were playing Everchosen. Man, you took them to that first Brew City, didn't you?
I took Mortals of Khorne with Archie,
that's what it was.
to the Adepticon. I did much better at the Adepticon.
Okay. All right, yeah. So he called that table. It's already been in the Slaves book since they were Warriors of Chaos. Well done. You totally called for the favor of the gods tables. Well done, believer. Yeah, absolutely. I see. Chat gang, you're already showing up. Good evening, everybody. By the way.
Hey.
Yeah. So, but you had a build that you actually played, where it was a what was it? It was either an Everchosen battalion in Slaves to Darkness. Yeah.
It was an Everchosen battalion with a Khorne allegiance. It was awesome. It was such a good list. It was the best list that I could come up with Archaon in it. What it was however many units +1 of Khorne's magic number. What's his magic number? Is it 7? I always forget.
What? Nurgle is 7.
Nurgle's 7. Khorne's 8.
Khorne is 8. Yeah.
9. Yeah. So it was 8 +1, which was 9, which is kind of weird because you need a hero and then 8 more. So you get this any mortal units and then +1 mortal hero. So your mortal hero is Archie, and then you got 8 mortal units. So I ran it with Khorne mortals. And what it did, it got you 2 things. First, if ever a hero slayed something, a model, then everybody else for that combat phase gets +1 attack within 16 inches. And you're already getting +1 attack from numerous things, like the Blood Secrator. So you go in with your heroes, and you want to go in with your heroes because the second thing it gets you is if a hero dies, a regular troop gets promoted. And he gained an extra attack and an extra wound and becomes his own unit.
Well,
that's good for 2 reasons. The first reason is now you have an extra unit to tie somebody up in combat with, and he can go off his own direction. So if you need one little dude to go claim an objective, he can leave his 40-man unit of Marauders and just go run off and claim an objective. So he's a hero himself, so he can go get an objective. Reason number 2 is Blood Tithe. So I pretty much I would unbind 5 spells a game because I always had 2 Blood Tithe. And then you'd also use the move one so Archie could get to what he needs to kill. So that was basic strategy. Get your Blood Tithe, let your heroes die, keep recycling heroes, getting more blood tithe. Um, it was kind of an auto win on the 3 places of power
Mm-hmm.
because you just had infinite heroes. You always had 6 heroes. Because when that one died, another one gets made into a hero.
So that seems like that's like a ton of fun, and with like they're actually one of these sub factions we'll talk about a little bit later actually has a little bit of that promotion mechanic, I believe, in some of the rules.
And I'm super thrilled. I'm super thrilled about that. Yeah, your promotion, your general can cycle. That's going to be really cool. I think it's super thematic too. Like everybody thinks they're bound for glory, but really it's Archie just like manipulating you.
Yeah, yeah. So
using your ambitions against you, not against you, but for his own tactical gain.
right. Well, he wants.
It's pretty cool.
He's got his eyes
That
on
was
the
a lot of
prize.
fun.
Yeah,
that was the best. That was the best list I came up with. Archaon. It was a lot of fun.
was that your like favorite army? Like actually like just sort of in your we'll go with like AOS career.
It was my favorite to play because it could win. Ironjaws were real bad, but Ironjaws are always going to be my favorite army, just because
enough.
the models are the best and Ironjaws is best.
Fair.
But now they're good too. They're thematic and good. But yeah, that was my favorite army for a time, and Varangard were my favorite. They weren't in that list though because you couldn't mark them. That was just a horrible bit of rules design. So you had to take them as allies if you wanted Khorne abilities, because Slaves to Darkness is not something that anybody should ever run. Like actual Slaves to Darkness, you were better off with Grand Alliance Chaos. It was like a negative to take Slaves to Darkness.
Well, and that's one of the things that. Oh, go on.
No. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
negative.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we're hoping changes with the new Slaves to Darkness book, right? Is incentivizing you to actually run Slaves to Darkness allegiance. I think they've taken some strides to try to sort of ensure that. So I'm very optimistic that Slaves to Darkness are going to be a little bit more of like the Cities of Sigmar, like parallel.
I'm hoping for that too, and I think it's going to be. I think the list building is going to explode when you get into the God marked stuff. If you could take everybody as Tzeentch, so you're getting 4 or 5 armies. Well, if you buy Archaon, that gives you an extra allegiance you can run. So you're technically getting 8 armies since you got those 4 sub factions.
Right. Yeah. So you've got and that was the thing before, is like you weren't really getting proper allegiance abilities before an STD. That was one of the things people constantly harped on. Every GHB, they kept copy pasting them. So I mean, they've already shown, hey, you've got new allegiance abilities, and that's really like where the rules creep. I don't want to call it powers creep of AOS, where 2.0 is like early on it was a lot about battalion rules, kind of informing your army and playing GA, and running inside of a smaller, narrower allegiance wasn't always beneficial. See mixed destruction with, mixed destruction back in the day with, taking one Thunder Tusk and then just like a boatload of other stuff. Like,
I'm telling you, man, this book is going to change the meta. It's going to evolve the meta very quickly because there's going to be so many lists and so many people finding interesting lists, like cities. Way more than cities, because you got realm artifacts too. You'll probably be able to go to whatever realm you want. I don't see why not.
They do.
So you got those 4 allegiances. You got all the god stuff. So all these god lists you can make. You got all the spell stuff. There's just gonna be so many unique little things. And then I'm just get the sense that you'll be able to throw just big collections of models on a table from a variety, and the Tinkerer can create power pairs. Right. So you can run some of each of the 4 chaos gods and probably get a decent list with what we're seeing already with just a court ability.
Yeah. I mean, the one, what was it? It's the Caballes, like their allegiance ability for like murdering stuff and being able to move endless spells out of sequence. That's the type of thing like you look at it and you just go, oh yeah, like your brain starts to, the gears start to turn on the crazy list.
You don't even have to run like a bunch of Tzeentch. You can just take that and then run a couple Tzeentch, maybe unit of Tzeentch and a couple heroes mark Tzeentch, and then mark like everybody else Nurgle and Khorne, and see what kind of tactical possibilities you can get. Right. You could build a toolbox army with Slaves to Darkness, which is what their allegiance abilities always wanted to be, but they were hamstringed by just like being bad in general. The things you would get were bad in general. Pretty much it was just a war shrine that was okay, but you're never going to take like 3 war shrines. Mm-hmm. and give them all different things. It's just too much spread out. So hopefully here you'll get this little toolbox ability
Right.
with these pairs of guys doing awesome stuff. So you can take an army that has 4 different colors in it, which would be sweet.
Right. And that's the, like, variety is going to be really a sticking point for this army. One thing you mentioned a little bit earlier, I wanted to kind of real quick mention, or is Varangard are now allowed to be marked. Like, we've heard that was one of the things they said in the like the Warhammer TV like rules discussion. Like, they were asked point blank, can you mark Varangard now? That was one of the first things that one of the first questions that they addressed. So I mean, that practically, I don't want to say it fixes Varangard, because they just fall into all the pitfalls that heavily elite units fall into.
They really, honestly, they just needed an additional wound, each of them, and then they would have been good at whatever they are. Or they like 320 or 280 now for the 3?
Well,
they were real bad at 400 when I used to run them at 400.
I think they're going back up in points. Was the impression I got from some of the whispers from the warp type thing.
They fuck it better, because I'm not painting more than 6 of those. I'm on like 25 hours for one.
You and Vincent both talked about like how painting them is a nightmare.
Yeah, that trim.
Yeah.
That trim is a nightmare.
Believer here in chat asks, do you think there will be any more changes to Archaon's War Scroll besides Ren 2? Maybe they'll clean up the way the eye works?
The Eye of Ed Sheeran?
What was that?
The Eye of Ed Sheeran?
The Eye of Ed Sheeran, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. The eye never worked out for me. I really like his scroll. Maybe if they had like one more cool artifact. I don't know. Just more interactions would be cool. Archaon's such a good idea for a design space. I don't think he needs to rend on the sword, because the sword just kills kings, right? It doesn't kill infantry with Ren 2. People always say that. Why has it got Ren 1? Well, because it just outright kills you on 2 6s. That's why you run him in Khorne as well, because the Khorne Lord on Juggernaut gives everybody +1 to wound. So you were killing people on 5s. I killed Joe Stonehorn so many times. It's just, and then it's gone. Yeah. But then I also died to deadly terrain, because I saw a guy misplayed his Phoenix up too far, and then I charged him over deadly terrain, and Archaon died.
That was the old deadly, that's right.
Yeah, I was up on table 10 at Adepticon, and then I got sent back down to the bottom table because I rolled a 1.
Oh man, that's bad beats. That's brutal.
I bought me a beer.
The guy bought you a beer. Man, that's what it's about, though. That's why we love this game.
Hey, but you know what, man? Megaboss Rustfoot charged on deadly terrain 44 times with the old deadly terrain rule and never died.
So Archaon's a punk ass, is what you're telling me, and orcs are the best.
No, it's Dorgar's the punk ass. Dorgar's the punk ass, not Archie.
Fair enough. No, I just kind of finishing up this question from Believer here. I think that Slayer of Kings and Claws are Ren 2 now confirmed. You get an extra command point at the start of hero phase if Archaon is your general and on the table. Both of those are good things. He has Battle Shock immunity.
Extra command points you can get more. I don't know if he's still going to have his command ability. I would assume so. It's pretty iconic. So that's another awesome list building for you to chain command abilities. Right.
I think that like cleaning up the rules is. I didn't see the War Scroll. I didn't watch the Warhammer TV ad. I want to kind of come into this with a fresh eye, so to speak.
He says he got Battle Shock immunity bubble too. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and I.
He is the Grand Marshal of the fucking apocalypse, after all.
What I saw from Nagash exceeded my expectations for them touching War Scrolls on big, iconic, sweet heroes. And so I at this point, I basically just expect Archaon's War Scroll to get cleaned up. The language, the rule language, and stuff.
Yeah, I might have to rebuy Archaon.
Oof. And I guess that's another question is have you seen enough to like be hyped back up? You do have some of your STD models. You didn't burn them all.
No, I didn't burn them all.
you ship them off to Canada where they got burned by a
Yeah, I burned them on eBay for $800.
right. But are you thinking of jumping back into
But
SD?
Mark Warband, man, yeah, no, Archie will be a while away, but I got the Varangard I'm painting. I got Chaos Warriors. I'm gonna order that up. I'm doing Zinch right now though. I finished that first,
Mhm.
so maybe I don't know. Maybe for Midwest Meltdown, I'll have those painted.
Cool.
You can give me a couple months and then get a big order of all those. I'm super interested. Yeah, I'm interested in the barbarian style. I will go with the Untamed Beasts. I got the Dark Oath lady, whatever her name is, the Dark Oath War Queen.
Mhm.
I got her painted up. I got that Shadespire Warband that looks like the Untamed Beasts, the Godsworn Hunt. They look sweet too.
Right.
I love them. I love Conan. I love that aesthetic. I love just like muscly dudes and awesome scantily clad chicks with spears and stuff and
Yeah.
hunting dogs, and it's like people who live in wild places and are badass just simply by virtue of existing in wild place. And why wouldn't they follow Archaon?
Right. Well, they actually so you basically what you're saying is you want Conan and Red Sonja the army.
Yeah, dude. Oh, Red Sonja's the best. I was reading some Red Sonja the other day.
Rad. Rad. No, they actually mentioned in one of the lore things here that like that a lot of the world is actually chaos, like slaves to darkness, because for the most part,
Yeah, I read that.
yeah, for the most part, Sigmar just kind of like closed up, backed off, and so just like left everybody out in the wilds, everybody
Yeah.
in all the conquered civilizations to just fend for themselves, and so the vast majority of those
So
folks.
people are indeed disenfranchised with Sigmar. That's Archie's lore himself. If you want to get into lore here,
We could go. We're already kind of talking about it, so yeah.
so do people know the story of Archaon?
Pretend that there's listeners that don't.
Archaon was a paladin. He was a good guy. He served Sigmar. And then one day he was like praying and he was down on his knees and he just got so jaded that Sigmar wouldn't answer his call. And he said, Sigmar is not going to do anything for me. He became an individual and he marched out and he said, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I'm going to become the most badass mofo to ever live. So he went out, he started smashing heads, started taking names, and just going to find like the biggest dudes around. And then he beat them up and killed them. And then he went to the next, he's like, who's the biggest dude around here? And so he went and got them and killed the biggest dude. And he started finding artifacts. So that's how he got his armor of Morcar. That's how he got his Eye of Ed Sheeran. That's how he got the Slayer of Kings. That's how he got his what's the other one he has? I can't remember. The crown. He's got the crown too. And so he's got all these artifacts. And then the Chaos Gods started to take note, and they were like, "Oh man, this guy is just leading Chaos warbands around and killing everyone." So they each sent a champion to kill Archie, and Archie killed each of those Chaos champions, and then fed them to his horse, and his horse got more huge every time that happened. So his horse started to transform into a dragon, and then it grew 3 heads after he killed each of the 4 Chaos God champions.
Pretty metal.
And then he did the end times. Yeah, he's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So he did the end times, but we haven't really caught up with Archaon pretty much since Age of Sigmar. Like we've had bits here and there. There's been some there's been some Black Library books, but like as far like a lot has happened. We know what Nagash has been doing. He's been making various legions. He's made the Bone Daddies. He has all these tortured souls that he's unleashed upon the world. He did the Black Pyramid, the Necro. We know everything Nagash has been doing. Doing Archaon's he's went quiet since he thoroughly succeeded at his goal.
Yeah.
In the world that was, and so I'm just interested to see what they do with all of that.
I'm interested to see what they do with a true champion instead of pushing a jobber like Nagash into the main storyline.
Ouch. Nagash has also succeeded at most of the things he sets out to do. The thing is like, Nagash is so awesome. They have to plot armor the world from Nagash. Like, they just like, oh man, Nagash is way too good. we have to like cheat code him with Skaven.
Oh
Otherwise,
yeah.
we just don't have a game anymore.
Yeah.
With Archeon, they're just like, oh yeah, let's like keep writing our Mary Sue, and then he's got an extra head, and then he can breathe fire, and then he gets armor and a
Yeah.
sword. It's like that your first player character
Well, he
in
did that all
D&D.
himself, man.
In D&D, your first, yeah, I mean Wesley Crusher did everything himself too, but he's still a freaking Mary Sue. Like it's like the first player character you ever make in Dungeons and Dragons, and you just like keep leveling him up and getting. And then I got the coolest sword, and then I got the best armor, and then I got this
Yeah,
fucking crown.
precisely. That's the path to glory, man, and everybody tries to walk it and succeeds.
And only he succeeds. All right. Well, so this actually was sort of
Yeah, Believer, he killed Nagash, but so did every. Like, who hasn't killed
well,
Nagash?
because it's part of Nagash's plan, though. Is like he's like death is meaningless to Nagash, to someone like Nagash. Death is very real to Archeon. You know, like the threat of death is a thing that he has to consider, which is probably why he hasn't been doing anything and like groveling like a coward someplace hidden in the mortal realms.
Yeah, pride is big for him too. I know Nagash doesn't have any of his dignity left over after dying to everybody.
Yeah. Man. But yeah, so like he's they as far as the lore, this is like actually a big news is that Aaron Dembski Bowden has written the lore now in the Slaves to Darkness tome. And even if you just look at like this intro pitch for the Slaves to Darkness lore on the community site where they're like, beyond the walls of Sigmar's fledgling civilizations are countless fallen empires and barbarous tribes, as diverse as the realms themselves. While the Stormcast Eternals and the forces of order see themselves as liberators, the Slaves to Darkness see them as cravens who abandoned the people of the mortal realms at the hour of their greatest need. And so, like, Everchosen, or not Everchosen, but like Slaves to Darkness, they actually kind of think of themselves like the protagonists, the heroes,
Yeah, they've been abandoned, of course.
Yeah.
Then they'll be super jaded, and then like I don't know, some of the Stormcast are jaded too. Like they got pulled out of their lives when they were fighting, and Sigmar ripped them away from that. They couldn't die with pride while fighting against chaos, and they left all their families to die.
Right. And so like the one thing when Warcry was announced, it started to kind of fill in some of the world a little bit. When Cities of Sigmar was announced, I think the world got filled in a little bit more, and even Ossiarch Bonereapers, like it's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's this huge chunk of the map in Shyish that like we just haven't talked about yet. Like Slaves to Darkness has the opportunity to do a lot of that, but also, you know, Nagash gets to kind of like pass the torch. We talked about this a little bit with Doug on when he was on RantCast last week. Was like Nagash sort of took on the protagonist role for a little while. Protagonist not being the good guy, quote unquote. It's just someone who drives the plot, who drives the narrative. And we had all kind of, in our various circles and online, thought that like the next person to drive the plot was going to be Archeon. I mean, this goes back to even like the Nova reveal. We thought, I think that weekend, a lot of us were like, oh, it's going to be Everchosen. It's going to be Everchosen. Because the Dark Oath Queen and all those things. And then like, oh no, death out of nowhere. Gotcha again. But like, now we have this Warcry thing, which is really good entry point into the hobby, into the lore. If you've never played a war game before and you just see a box of these Warcry models and start playing Warcry, you're like, okay, this is awesome. You start to familiarize yourself with the mortal realms, and then Slaves to Darkness comes out. It says straight up like, you can play your Iron Golems in Slaves to Darkness. So now you collect a couple more boxes. You pick up a thing of Erengard. It's just a really good transitional piece from every angle I can look at it, as far as like a game and setting and just everything you want to do. So whilst I might like make fun of and we'll banter about who the coolest guy is forever, it's Nagash. But what this book is going to do for the game, I think, is a really good thing. The same way I thought what Cities of Sigmar was going to do for the game this year is a good thing. Like they're both just like great segues into the game from several different avenues. They help build the world, these mortal realms out, and they give us a jumping off point going forward. You know, it's really, you know, they talk about how like a lot of the Slaves to Darkness stuff is focused in I think it's Gur and Akshi. Well, like down the line, you're like, well, what does Slaves to Darkness look like in Ulgu? And like, so you just have these natural questions that begin to form that I think just makes this. It takes place outside the the 8 points or whatever, in the what is it called? The Blood Wind Spoil. Yeah, it's in the all points. Yeah, the 8 points or the all points. So but like it's just like it just like gives you these like cool different ways to get in. What I think STD does that Cities of Sigmar didn't do is give you something new though, and that's where I think they've succeeded the silly stupid humans. To humans suck. No, but that's where I think they've succeeded. Where like they just kind of continue to push the envelope and refine the process. And I think with Slaves to Darkness now you've got like you can bring in your Warcry models. Also, here's a new Chaos Lord on Carrot Cake. I'm sorry, what is it? Like something Kakarot Carrot Cake, like whatever it is. They've got a new Chaos Lord model. They've revamped and revitalized the Chaos Knights and the Chaos Warriors, which are just like Chaos Warriors is one of those things. It's so freaking iconic. You want to be careful when you touch it. Like skeletons, everyone knows what a skeleton looks like, so they could take every risk they wanted to make Ossiarch Bonereapers. You know what a skeleton is. A skeleton's a skeleton. So like they got to do whatever. But Chaos Warriors, I mean, I always go back to Hero Quest. Of course, the sort of quote unquote Chaos Warriors in there were designed by the same person who in turn like designed Chaos Warriors for Warhammer at the time. Like that was it was so like visually, what is this awesome thing? I'm listening to freaking Led Zeppelin at the time or whatever, and I'm seeing these models.
I agree. For me, it was Chaos Marines too.
Yeah,
Chaos Space Marines that got me into Warhammer because you look at them and you're used to like big dudes in power armor from sci-fi stuff, and what if they could be warped and messed up and their armor starts evolving and getting more ornate and baroque and like their armor comes like alive with a hideous transformation.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I look at these Chaos Warriors and I'm like, yes, like this is what
the whole aesthetic of all chaos really is nailed every time that GW touches it. They've really got that down. These guys are just miles better than the classic sculpts, which are great sculpts anyway. These have tons of life to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm hoping it doesn't look like it. I'm hoping if you can move the arms a little bit up and down, this is just the best kit.
Well, that's where they said in their kit focus, they said the poses in the kits are designed to maximize character and dynamism while still fitting in alongside your existing Chaos Warriors. Expand, blend.
All you can do with the old models, if they have all you can do one arm up and down.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, they talk about the like
it does have a good look to it though. Sorry to interrupt. It does have a good look because you think of them as like,
I'm sorry, you cut out there.
Marching straight forward.
Yeah.
Chugging along.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think of them like marching rank and file and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Look at them and you can almost hear their marching go thud, thud, thud through the chaos wastes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty metal. So they talk about you're going to have head swaps readily available for all the Chaos Warriors. You can give them faces and stuff. I think that's really cool.
I love that. I love these faces, man. They're great.
Oh, man.
Faces. I mean, the helmets are cool too, but the face just really breaks up the model, especially on the old models, which are like virtually all armor and fur.
Mm-hmm. See, I like these helmets. I think there's something just like so quintessentially badass. Like, look at this fucking dude. He's got like the one eye gouged missing, the freaking arms that come to the peak. This is awesome. Like, this is
man, they're all good.
Yeah, so
they're all good.
Yeah, so it's really cool. If it's anything like the Ossiarch Bonereapers, where they're very much made to like you kind of push two parts together and then like put the head on, and like you're good to go. You got your like arm, but like you swap the heads and tweaks the arms around. Like I haven't built like the same two at all. Yeah, so like I if it's anything like that, and I think it goes beyond that personally. Just looking at the details on these sculpts, like I think you're gonna have some real dynamic poses to them, and they're gonna have.
I also don't mind like a bunch of mono pose models. The Warcry stuff kind of worries me a little bit. When the mono pose does bother me is when they're like super dynamic. So like a guy throwing a spear, it's gonna be very clear that the two guys throwing spears are the same model because they have so much movement to them. But I got like 80 clan rats of the old Hero Quest models, and I painted each of them with just different color combinations, and it looks great together.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the old Slambos, the old Chaos Warriors, who are all standing like this, and they somehow all look different. Or you think of the old dwarf models with their beards; they each have different colored beard. It's easy to use color to break up the model. Yeah, let's look at these knights.
Oh man,
These knights are miles better than the old knights models.
Right.
These are so much better.
No, like this one's like actually like rearing up, and like you can see him like he's like adjusting direction, like about to levy the spear.
They still got weight to them.
They look, and they like, I'm looking at just a picture of them, and I can like practically feel the weight like phantomly. I'm like, these guys are.
You can get a sense of how fast they're going from the sculpt due to their armored. They're not going to be full gallop, but you can see.
Yeah, yeah. The only one that looks a little bit questionable, and maybe it's because he's blocked a little bit, is this one in the back left. It does look like the horse is like pimp strutting a little bit, as opposed to like sauntering or running. He's got like the one hoof just kind of kicked up a little bit, like a little daintily. But like, but yeah, I don't. I just, these look great. I'm a big proponent of like cavalry in Age of Sigmar. I've always Warhammer Fantasy Battle even, like I loved my mounted wights. They're like my favorite.
Well, they're telling us that we're gonna get chariots back.
Ooh, all right, yeah, I'm for this.
I sold my chariot out of my battle force. I sold that so.
And one of the things a lot of people are quick to point out is the amount of elf heads that per model is really. There's a really high elf head per model density across all the chaos models, the new ranges. So that's really cool. Big fan of the chaos the chaos lord on carrot cake. Sorry, on what is it? Kakarot. He looks pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And I like that they're doing some of the points of like visual consistency where like you've got like the Stormcast Eternals. Well, they even point out here in this article, where you've got the like these mounted champions in the mortal realms have some like they're recognizable across like the Liege Caballes versus this Chaos Lord versus like Vandus Hammerhand and stuff like that. You look at them and you go, oh, you know, like these models, they look like they live in the same world even though they're very different, and I like that. I really like that, as opposed to like, no, we really did just bring this in from generic other fantasy. No, like this is the Games Workshop like vision, and like I like that there's a sort of there's a really like good juxtaposition between them. Like they look similar, but they're different, and so you have that like consistency. It really draws you in, I think, to the world. So I'm really pleased with that. Since we're on the subject of models, I think we got to talk about these. The most mixed reviews I've seen so far for the model ranges is of these endless spells. Do you have an opinion on them? Just how they look? I don't know that we know the rules yet.
Yeah, one's a wall of spikes. It's kind of whatever.
Meh.
Flaming Chaos Star is kind of cool. The one blowing fire is fucking rad.
Yeah. Like I almost
Chaos Star head just blowing fire.
Yeah.
I'm getting that one. I'm painting that fire like bright blue and purple. It's a big fire too. It looks like, so you can get a bunch of colors in there. Like pure warp fire is coming out, wreck people.
Yeah. See, I like that one by far the best. It's it reminds me of like a Doom demon from like the video game. And I'm just
Doom. Like, oh, I love heads too. I love like creepy heads like coming out of walls, like the heads in Berserk during the eclipse with all the heads come out.
Yeah. It's just like, it's fucking cool. It's just the other two, you know, whatever. You got to have your undivided symbol, I guess, and like and then sometimes you have to make a wall of spikes apparently. So, but like, I don't know. There's spikes. Some people will really flex their non-metallic metals painting skills on that and make it look pretty sweet, I guess. But
Yeah, I'm doing all mine in true metallics. I'm messing around with metallics for these.
all right, right on.
I
Why?
use AK Interactive wax-based metallics, and they're fantastic.
I'm sorry. One more time. What are those?
AK Interactive True Metals wax-based metallics.
Huh? How do those differ from like a? Oh, go ahead.
It functions the same as like an oil.
Uh-huh.
With a faster drying time.
Okay.
So you put on your brown, and you can just poke at it with your like copper, and then you poke at it with a gold, and then highlight with a brass, and then you just go in and feather in. It stays wet for days. Go in and feather in. If you need to wake it up, you can wake it up with some spirits, and you just feather in some colors into the recesses and give it some life. And you're done.
Yeah, that's very much like I actually, when I did 2-dimensional painting, we did oil and acrylic, and we had this agent to make the acrylic function like an oil paint, so that it would you're always essentially on a wet canvas.
Yeah.
With oil painting, so that's really cool.
Yeah, it's nice to get those blends together with the metallic paints.
Mm-hmm. The one last thing is, and I don't know if they teased it on Warhammer TV, but they did mention that there's an unseen, like an as of yet unseen beast that will also come with the Start Collecting. I counted the models a couple.
In the Start Collecting?
What does it say? It says in addition to Warband, blah blah blah.
Oh, I think they mean unseen in the Mortal Realms, man. I don't think they mean unseen by the
and a Chaos Beast we've never seen before. So maybe it's not in the Start Collecting, but just like there's going to be some new.
Oh, it could be. I thought they were referring to the Kakarot.
Is that what it is?
And then they say a stunning Chaos Lord mounted on a Kakarot. So no, that's not how that sentence works.
Yeah. So like, does this mean there's like still some big sweet beastie we haven't seen yet?
Oh man, yeah, that'd be cool.
Like, I'm fucking for that, man. Like, new models are sweet. Huge stuff is awesome.
Yeah, hopefully it's like reptilian like that.
Yeah.
There's a kind of spawning pit in the Varen Spire. And some strange magical warped, but that's the cool stuff about this. It's not like too magical, not too demonic. But you can still tell these guys live some fucked up lives.
Right. It's got that like. It just feels like, I don't know, like super fantasy. Like it's cranked up. I mean,
it just feels cool, is what it feels.
Yeah. Yeah, like you're just listening to Nightwish every time like you're pushing these models around on the battlefield. Yeah. Like it just like like it's shredding in the background. So it's really cool. So Doom Demon. I guess like now we get to the rules, which is really they did do a bunch of these on Warhammer TV, but like we can just talk about some of the implications here, what we think, our impressions, and
sure, the 4 sub factions, right?
Right, and yeah. So like before they even get to the sub factions, they talk about the marking again. So marking is back. They're going to mark. You're going to be able to mark your Varen Guard, which they did confirm on the Warhammer TV episode. Great. There. So you will be able to mark your Varen Guard. And one of the things that I really gravitated towards in this community article was them saying that like actually your allied units, that the keywords are going to actually allow you to interact with your allied units properly, which is design space we haven't really fully lived in before.
It's going to open up a lot of lists, man.
Right.
It's going to open up a lot of lists. How much do you want to take of the nerf? Yeah. How much do you want to take of the corn stuff? How much Slanesh do you want to take? Do you want to get that keeper in? What kind of greater demon do you want to ally in? It's possible.
Right.
How many demons do you want in your army? How many princes? There's just going to open up so many individual tactics, and everybody's going to have to learn. And I think a lot of lists are going to be good.
I think early on you're gonna see the same trends we tend to see with a lot of these resouped or repackaged or reprinted armies. Now again, we do have a lot of new stuff here, but I think initially what you're gonna see is people just busting out their old collections, and so the initial lists are gonna be lists built from like what do I have, but then people are really going to start to like mix it up. They're gonna pick up a box of, they're gonna pick up a box of like Blight Lord or Lord of Blights or something like that.
Yeah.
They're gonna start to incorporate other stuff into their existing models, and then you're gonna get the filth list that wins some big event. And by filth, I use the term loosely, just some flashy list that wins. People will like.
I can already tell you what's going to win the first event from this
Oh,
book.
hot take. What's that? Okay, what's that?
It's the Ravagers.
The Ravagers.
The Ravagers.
The Ravagers are like the classic chaos is how they're pitched, right?
Yeah.
You want
the Ravagers is the one. The Ravagers command lets your general, who you can pick at the start of every hero phase. You can pick a new general at the start of every hero phase. So your general can feasibly, if you're smart, at who's going to survive and who's about to die if he's a general. You pick a new general, and at the start of your hero phase, you can spend 1 command point for command ability to summon in a unit of 10 a Warcry Warband.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's 50 extra models on board edges. And you're going to pick the one who's the fast one. Is that Corvus Cabal or the Unmade? We're going to pick that one because they're probably going to have +1 to charge. And they're going to be on threatening objectives. They're going to come in from the side. And that happens automatically. So I've been playing Ardfist with the new book.
Mm-hmm.
And when a unit dies, you get to summon a new unit of Ardboys in, of 10 Ardboys. Now, granted, that's probably more wounds with a 4-up save, but them just coming in on the side splits enemy attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that's going to win. That's the super valuable one.
Well, that's literally how I win with Beast of Chaos. Is I constantly bring stuff on board edges and just disrupt the flow of the game.
Bringing stuff on board edges for free is good. Teleporting stuff onto board edges, not so good.
Correct.
Bringing stuff on deep striking is not so good, but bringing stuff on for free automatically, that's the one that's going to win.
Right.
You'll see somebody really savvy, just bogging down the board and using. You're just going to get 1 unit of 10 for free, just popping out and blocking off a gnaw hole turn 1, and their gnaw hole shut down, and then they got to go deal with that, and that's going to be enough for a good player to cycle that to an advantage and win. That's the one.
Well, and this is one of the game concepts that sometimes is like elusive to like a newer player, which is recognizing that time as a component of play. And we don't mean like literally slow play. What I mean is like you can do infinite damage as like a unit, like Witch Elves. We were running the math on 6 Blendermen, fully Blendermen being the name we've given Necropolis Stalkers and Ossiarch Bonereapers. Like we were running the math on fully buffed Blendermen, and it's like they do something like 40 damage after against a 4-up save. Like that's practically infinite damage, right? Like what can take 40 damage? There's a lot of things that can do infinite damage in the game of Age of Sigmar, but like you still got to spend the turn to kill the thing. And so it almost doesn't matter if you do infinite damage if you have these ancillary or extra summoned units or cheap access to cheap chaff or whatever it is that says
doesn't matter. Yeah,
you're gonna do infinite damage to this thing, but you're gonna take a turn to do it.
And when I played against Brendan at Dragonfall, there was one combat that lasted an extra turn, and because of that, the damage didn't matter. Just because his dudes were stuck over there for 1 extra turn, I was like, hey, I might have a chance. Didn't manage to do it, but that's all it takes sometimes, is keeping somebody in a place a little bit. You just make people's pieces bad. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, damage and combos are fun, but piece play is way more important.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's that next tier strategy that, like, as you begin to play the game, you develop. And that's why you're really gravitating, kind of calling your shot here with the Ravagers. And I think it's a good call. Tricks are good. Like summoning is good, and I like the little so that's what that does. Chaos Walk the Path. I'm just checking an interaction real quick. So like it specifically excludes Daemon Princes.
Yeah.
So conceivably, you have a generic all champions of chaos walk the path to glory, a journey of bloodshed, carnage, and mutations ends in that ends with death. So you either like become a chaos spawn,
Or a demon prince, or you die.
or a Daemon Prince, or you die. Yeah. So like I think that's just that's gonna be such a fun mechanic. You know, this is a pseudo summoning mechanic too. I can see, so people might hate it naturally, but I think it's a fun like game spawn is a ton of fun, and it doesn't even have like a full table or a full fully fleshed out mechanic behind it. Like game spawn.
Game spawn was something I thought about too when I was, because it reminded me of the Bloodwalk Warband, of just injecting a new unit onto the board.
Right.
A new unit, something I didn't talk about with the Bloodmarked Warband. Another benefit was it forces opponents to split attacks. Right. So now all of a sudden you got this little 2-wound guy, and you're like, I have to dedicate 3 attacks for my big monster.
So suddenly you're like, I gotta dedicate the attacks. Yeah. So yeah, this the Path to Glory thing I think is really awesome mechanic, and I was checking real quick to see if you have this like weird.
Hey, come here.
James is trying to eat your bed.
No, he's licking his paws. Come here, little anxious guy.
Yeah. The champion, the walk the Path to Glory thing. It looks like it won't interact directly with the Glory for Taking, which is unfortunate because it says it can't be a Daemon Prince, so you can't like have a factory of dudes ascending to glory and then turning and then working with the edge.
This is the one I like, and it's the most thematic one for me too. Hordes of barbarians, and a bunch of barbarians. I get some of the old Marauder models. Maybe get some Flashland. Maybe get some third-party barbarians and a bunch of the Warcry guys.
Right on. Yeah, I think that's yeah. I mean, it just looks great. Rally, you see, you're gonna summon. Yeah. So that's the one. Then go on.
I'm thinking, another thing that's just going to inject so much that I just thought of to list building is really all they needed to do to make you take mortals in God-marked armies was just to make the scrolls of Chaos Warriors and Chaos Martyrs a little bit better. Yeah. The heroes and stuff, a little more synergies.
Right. And I think they certainly have an eye toward that, and like, so my early gauge of this army, and I keep comparing it to Cities of Sigmar, but I really think it kind of nestles in there. That being said, I do see the some of these mechanics going a little bit further than some of the mechanics we saw in Cities. Cities had, I think, 2 standout mechanics, really, like truly standout mechanics, and then otherwise it's bonuses to hit, basic synergies, yada yada yada. But we weren't really seeing anything like brand new or drastically different with Cities.
It made you an army, and if you play it well, you can win.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, but what I see in here is them actually like pushing the envelope with mechanics again, which is really it's
that's what you want to see.
It's
why I love Archeon so much.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's good. Obviously, it's always going to come down to the points and the full book and how it all plays together. But my early impression is they push the envelope. They have some interesting abilities. I'm not interested in you lining up your 10 wounds for 100 points, hits on 4s and 4s, no rend damage 1, and me lining up my 100 point 10 guys. I want to see the interesting combos and interactions. I want us all to like be playing our game. And I see this has personality already. You read 2 of these abilities and you go, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. Like, it's cool. And kind of to that end.
You want to have some interactions. You want to have tactical ideas against tactical ideas, strategic ideas against strategic ideas that are, and having to know what your opponent is up to and finding ways to counter what they're up to. That's what makes the game interesting. And we're seeing that an awful lot of new games.
Yeah.
Like every book this year, for all we say about like balance, like the game's unbalanced. Yeah, there's a couple of standouts this year, but what you can say is that every army plays differently. Nobody feels the same, and the theme is always reflected. The army theme is always reflected in the rules, especially like war clans, especially with Bonereapers, most especially I think with ogres as well. War Clans for me as War Clans players, just fantastic theme and mechanics aligning together.
Mm-hmm.
Skaven most definitely, just sneaky,
cheaty facer, like cheaty facing, like yeah. It's um
Slanesh in their excess, it fits.
yeah, they went way too far with their rules, so they're excessive.
They went too far. They went too far.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is like I think if you step back, balance. We could talk about balance. It's like at this point, I obviously have takes on the balance of the game.
I mean, balance is fine. The game is good, right? Balance and good isn't the same thing.
Right. And
you want to have a good game. You always want to have a good game, and it is harder to get a good game against Slanesh, but you want the game to be good and interesting all the time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, I have takes on balance, but it almost feels like a bit of a dead horse. I think we
just all want the game to be fair. You want to roll up and have a time into, and you're on its list, and you feel like you have some chances.
Yeah.
And ideas.
You want that. It's ideal to have as you play a game to have meaningful decisions to make. And when you run
That's
up,
why we play games, right? That's why we don't play Candyland, because there's no decisions in it.
Right. Once you run into like these imbalanced armies or the imbalanced situations, sometimes you don't have meaningful decisions anymore, and that's when it becomes less fun, right? Like, and again, we can talk about balance, but what I look at, I see, 12 books in the last year, I think was where the numbers like finally ended up, right? Like Slaves to Darkness, pre-order on the 7th, I think they said.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
Yeah,
no, I think it's next week.
Or not next week. Yeah, it's next week. Like pre-orders coming, so like that's gonna come in just under the wire. In one calendar year, we've had about 12 books. I think I'd have to run the numbers. 12 books, 12 armies. Like either a revitalized version of the army we hadn't seen before. Like for instance, making Fire Slayers. I know they're kind of like, I think Fire Slayers. Vince did his like Thanksgiving episode,
Oh, the thanky or janky.
Janky.
8 out of 12 are thanky and 4 are janky.
Yeah, and
I think we should specify the degrees of janky next year.
Yeah,
we'll let them know our feedback.
Yeah, we'll let them know. But like,
how about janky or thanky, janky or spanky?
what's
Slanesh
spanky?
was the spankiest. Slanesh, in fact, were spanky.
Yeah, they were too spanky perhaps. No, but like Fire Slayers, I choose Fire Slayers here because I think that was one of the ones, the kind of quote unquote forgotten army of the year.
Yeah.
And part of it I think has to do with distribute. It was hard to get a hold of. Hearthguard Berserkers were just out of stock forever, right? Like I think part of that, I think that was part of it. And like the models are samey, and it's got just like some of those hobby hangups that we see with some armies. But even then, you look at old Fire Slayers versus new Fire Slayers. The Fire Slayers players who are still committed to Fire Slayers are really fucking happy with that. Yeah. Like,
I mean, they just got to put out 2 kits. They just got to put out like a Kadai, like a fire elemental, and then they got to put out like a cavalry-sized lizard, like a flame lizard, and then you'd be good. Then that army would look awesome.
Perfect. Yeah, you break up some of the monotony. Yeah, you break up some of the monotony. You add some variety, but again, like
Magmadroth baby
Magmadroths, like a Magmadroth swarm, where it's just like a bunch of
Yeah. Let's go to the next one. You were talking about these Caballes.
Yeah. So Caballes here this is the one I read, and so Ritual Corruption. I read this and I went, ooh.
You would like this one. We're gonna send this one to Darren's List Diaries.
Yeah. So
that's a lot to parse through. This one's interesting. So you pick one friendly Caballes unit within 3 inches of the wizard performing the ritual on a, what is that, a 3+?
On a 3+. Yep.
D3 models from that unit are slain. Then so you sacrifice some dudes, and then you pick a predatory endless spell within 12 inches.
Not wholly a thing.
And then that predatory spell gets to move distance depending on whether you rolled a 1, 2, or 3 for your sacrifice. So if you roll a 3, it can go up 9 inches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you get to just
how to sequence.
Do a sacrifice, and then make an endless spell go again. So what endless spells off the top of your head can you make pulse twice?
Purple Sun!
The purple sun, yeah, sweet.
Purple sun. Oh, dude,
this is
someone's Wildfire Taurus, like in Beasts of Chaos, like so. The only allies Beasts of Chaos have is Slaves to Darkness, so conceivably we can ally in there. So you bring in a you bring in a Great Ray Shaman or a Grashrak.
cool.
You bring in Grashrak and a Wildfire Taurus.
He's
And now
bucking his horns left and right.
yeah, and so now you can Wildfire Taurus twice. Or if you're out of sequence, you take priority, someone flings the Wildfire Taurus at you, and then you just murder 3 guys and throw it right back at them.
You're like catching the bullet. You're like, thanks.
It's so man, this is the sort of thing where my brain just races with
I'm not even gonna parse any of that. I can't wait to see what people bring with this one. It's gonna be silly.
It's so I think it's silly and I
hey
think,
man, and we're also we got Zinchunless spells on the way too.
Yep.
So those need to be kept in mind when they design the
whatever Doom Fireface
another 9
does.
inches on these, just whipping them left and right. So that's gonna be good.
It almost doesn't matter how much they move, quote unquote, because it really matters that they have moved, because the language in all the endless spells is when this completes a move, it does the thing. So
and Andrew, it can also move soulbound ones, your whatever life-linked ones.
It says predatory endless spell, so yeah, I can move my predator away from them, or my friend bird. You can push my my shrieker out of range, so I'm not getting the +1. There's so much. There's so much I just see the tactics and my brain just spirals. Yeah. Also,
fun ability. Fun ability.
One ability.
Interactions like this, these are super interesting.
Yeah, and this was when I saw the same thing happened when I saw the Cities of Sigmar rule for endless spells, getting souped up for them. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Now it unlocks a whole different tier of play with endless spells that you weren't necessarily going to play before. And also, it really is worth noting that you're murdering your own dudes, and nothing is more hardcore than that. My Beasts of Chaos might actually just become Slaves to Darkness now, the more I think about it.
I always think of Jeffrey Rush from Mystery Men.
Yeah.
It's like, you see, I kill my own men.
That's right. Oh, man. This is so cool.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
And then that's only one, so they probably got a couple more. They can do.
Yeah,
and then also not to mention, now with all these, everybody gets their own artifacts. Everybody gets their own command abilities or command traits. So that's also going to be good stuff to build around.
Right. Yeah. So that's going to be cool. Man, yeah. So I mean, I just think that's a lot of fun. I think the list science from just that alone, that ability alone, and looking at all these endless spells, the counterplay against opponents' endless spells now. Devaluing the priority choice, because if they fling their silver sword, their racist swords at you, or whatever they do with it, you can just murder 3 guys and fling it right back at them and get the value out of it too. You're paying a price, you're killing 3 dudes, but it's awesome. It's just
they're Marauders, man. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. They deserve to die. And you're not hardcore unless you live hardcore. So
And then we got the Despoilers.
Yep.
These ones for me, not.
Don't do it.
So what we see, well, I hope they have 2 other rules. This doesn't seem that good alone. Mm-hmm. But I do love, again, we see interesting rules design that works well for Age of Sigmar. I love the design of messing with terrain.
Okay, so the design space. So
is cool.
So real quick, is Twisted Dominion is what the Despoilers get. This is a friendly Despoiler Daemon Prince finishes a move within 6 inches of a terrain feature. You can give that terrain feature the Pitch Black and Nightmare Chasm scenery rules below until your next hero phase. So Pitch Black models are not visible to each other. If an imaginary straight line, yada yada. This is the line of sight rule. And at the start of each hero phase, roll a dice for this feature. On a 6, it deals some mortal wounds. So meh, whatever. It kind of turns them into Awakened Wildwoods, essentially, right? So you're. I
don't really know. You're not really going to probably base much strategy around this, but that being said, we don't know if Demon Princes are just going to be straight ballers now, and you're going to run 6 of them and turn everything to pitch black so nobody can shoot you. Might be pretty sweet.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing is the shooting meta. We keep hearing about this. This plays hell with. This is a very preemptive. This is a rule that's very very much preempting like shooting armies and shooting lists.
Yeah.
So like that's cool. We don't know spells that they have. Maybe they have some sort of combo off of when terrain is pitch black, then you get to like cast Evert's Black Tentacles from the pitch black terrain and do some real sick shit. Like we don't know. So like there might be some lore spells that play with this.
Like impending darkness is coming.
Yeah.
It could tentacles come out of it. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. So like I think I mean
it's kind of then you're like a builder hero in a MOBA. Oh,
yeah.
I build this here. Now I can put threats out this way, even though I myself kind of suck. But
yeah. Yeah, I think that's cool. Like, the design space is what's really a win here. Rules wise, I think it feels a little underwhelming on the surface, but like the flavor of it
to back it up, and it works.
Yeah, but the flavor on it is cool, and I can see the theory behind it, like line of sight blocking, and you have these demons flying around corrupting the land. That's really cool. Also, you can turn
more interaction with terrain game.
Yeah, and the other like sort of the final point here is that you can turn people's faction terrain against them. So anyone who like Beasts of Chaos like to crowd around our own Herdstone, you've now turned it into a liability. It's on a 6-up, which is what I think kills it. It could just do the mortal wounds.
4-up.
Yeah, 4-up D3 mortals.
And maybe there's a command trader battalion that changes it or a spell.
Right.
So, like you cast it on and then it just automatically does D3 and that would be really cool. Maybe their whole spell lore is about it.
Yeah, there could be some cool stuff. Who knows? But I like the design space. And then finally...
Speaking of design space, let's go to the one that's got the Twitters in a tizzy.
Yeah. This is the one we could practically do a rantcast, like, in and of itself on. This is Dark Prophecy.
Yeah, you read it, and then...
Right. So this is for the Everchosen sub-faction. First of all, fucking awesome making Everchosen the sub-faction, by the way. This pleases me greatly. So hell yeah.
Reduce the price of your Varangard by half in Everchosen. 40 Varangard.
Let's go. You'd have to paint 40 Varangard, though. You might still be painting that army by the time the next GHB comes out and lowers their points.
That's also what, $4,000?
Yeah. You can use this command ability. So Dark Prophecy is their command ability. You can use it is Everchosen command ability. You can use this ability at the start of your hero phase, if Archaon is your general and on the battlefield. If you do so, roll a dice, and keep the result hidden from your opponent. At the start of the battle round, before players determine who has the first turn, you can reveal the result. On a 1-3, your opponent must take the first turn of that battle round. On a 4-6, you must take the first turn of the battle round. This is a very powerful effect. Now, there's a logistical issue here. The logistical issue is the one that I think most people are just in a tizzy about on Twitter. It says that you roll a die and you keep it hidden. Now, I don't think this is an issue playing with your buddy at his house or even I've heard some horror stories of like some people's like that guy at the LGS, and I could see that being a bad thing, but my average experience at the LGS...
Are you talking cheating, Andrew?
I'm not talking cheating. I'm saying pushing the line of what legality is.
Yeah. I'm not worried about cheating. I'm worried about you. So you do it in cup, obviously, right?
Right. You got
then,
like you
just. But then it's in the way, and somebody teleports their dude, and knock the cup over, and everybody sees it. I feel so bad if I knock the cup over and I got to see it was a 1.
See, that's the
difference. I feel so terrible.
Yeah, and see,
where are you gonna put it? You're gonna put it on the floor in a tournament? You're gonna put it in the middle of the table? You're gonna put it like. Oftentimes the whole table gets used, so you have to be really careful. Or like I know you called a TO over. How many Archaons are there going to be at the event? I guess the TO's got to remember all of them. You should, hey, this is the one for this one. Then you can move the die and call a TO back and tell you. Yeah, it might cause a little bit of a problem. I would hate to get that die knocked over. That's my thought. Is if you're how are you going to hide it?
Yeah, there's some. I mean, it's just a logistical issue. I'm not necessarily worried about cheating, which is kind of where I was going with that. Is like I've heard horror stories of the local scene. Bumping the die. If it's say like it is in the cup, you don't necessarily see it, but now you bump the die. Your opponent swears it was a 2. Like they knew it was a 2, right? But
like, they're like getting really upset. They're like, my whole game is ruined because this got bumped, and then like you feel really shitty. You don't know what to do. The TO comes over and I'm sorry, it says a 2, and then like everybody feels bad.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of feels bad available for this. So like
could happen, yeah.
This is one of those. I think
it's not just it could happen. Like that's likely to happen. Like
yes,
models get knocked over, stuff like that happens. I like pick up I have like specific red wound markers of dice, and I pick them up all the time and forget how many wounds a model had. I do it every game, even though they're bright red. People make mistakes like that. You're gonna like you try to move and you're like just move the dice cup out of the way because you forget it's there.
Yeah. I mean, and you get in the moment. You're in the crunch time at the end of a tournament, so now you're just moving stuff to like clear out and play the game. Like it happens. We bump models all the time. We bump dice all the time. This is why I've actually like finally swung into the camp of very much for like actual markers that count down, or the little like tripods that you set dice in so that they don't get bumped around. So couple things. Like I think it's gonna get FAQ'd. So like don't run for the hills yet, everybody. That's just something I always. This is just rules on a.
It needs an FAQ for the mirror match.
Yeah.
And it needs an FAQ because you can do it twice, I guess.
Yes. So you can spam this so you can get like the result.
So obviously you can only do it once, of course.
Yeah. So like there's gonna be an FAQ there. So like some of the feels bad, but I think as a community we need to come to a consensus. Is the best thing to roll it, see it, and then like write it down on a piece of paper off to the side now, right? I think that's gonna be something. I mean, that's just going to end up being... I do like Dustin's solution here. It's just 6mm die and a shot glass. Boom. Shot glasses are small and inconspicuous, right? Plus, like,
you could turn it into... Man? Coin would be better.
Coin?
A coin is less liable to get bumped and moved around. You do a coin, you put it under something.
Flip the coin, put it under the thing. I actually keep various heads and tails coins with me. And not for it's just left over from when I used to run tournaments. Is I'd always have like a coin to flip just in case. But I'm not.
So do you want my take on this rule? Like as a rule, ignoring all that stuff.
Yeah, let's ignore all that stuff. What's your take?
I played with this rule in a battalion called the Overlords of Chaos with the Everchosen. Mm-hmm. It has existed before.
Okay.
And I can confirm that it sucked. It was horrible.
When you say sucked, what do you mean? Like sucked to play against, sucked to use? What do you expect?
It did not win me any games.
Why is that?
It did not help you. It does not help you to any extent, aside from a little bit of a fun bluff thing.
Mm.
But if your opponent's going to set up for like either way anyway, right? Mm-hmm. A good opponent's not even gonna like try and discern what your strategy is or what you know. They're just going to play for like they're going to lose the turn. They're going to play for the worst case scenario always. A good opponent is. Yes. And I played good opponents. But I will also confirm that this was in an environment that contained the following. You had to have the Gaunt Summoner next to Archie to summon the Boon of Prophecy and do this. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes he wasn't there. Also, Varengard were not good. So if the army is more good, then maybe that changes.
Right, and I'm actually going to have Jeremy Cooper from the Everchosen podcast on in a couple weeks, and I know we're gonna.
Oh, Jeremy Cooper! I'm calling you out, Jeremy Cooper. I hope you're listening right now. Are you ready to hear this?
Okay.
I'm going to come down to Texas for one of your tournaments and grudge you because you abandoned me when I came to Austin, Texas, because he made up an excuse that his wife had a fever and he had a newborn child that was only 2 weeks old, so he couldn't meet me for a friendly game in Austin, Texas.
See, this is a problem.
Jeremy Cooper, man, I would hope you weren't at the Alamo because they would have been screwed. They all would have died. Did they die anyway? I'm not sure because I don't live in Texas. I live in a liberal state. So, Jeremy Cooper, I'm calling you out, man. You owe me a game.
All right. See that there, the gauntlet's been thrown. Yeah, we're gonna talk about this a little bit. We've got a little bit of a different take on that. So like, by that time, I hope someone has read a man has read the book on the internet, and then we can go a lot more in depth. I'll go a lot more in depth with Jeremy Cooper. But this is the hype.
So the interesting things about that allegiance ability are The first one is if you get like a result you don't want and you like wanted to give away the turn because it would be better for you, which often happens, you don't have to look at the die. You can just scoop it off the table and go, let's roll. And then they're like, what? He's crazy. Oh my God. Oh my God. Archaon's lost his damn mind. He had the upper hand. What is Archaon thinking?
Yeah.
And so that's pretty cool. And the other thing is just knowing you're going to get a double turn.
Yeah.
Then you can just get a big dick and push all your stuff forward.
Yeah, and that becomes a bluffing game.
Then you're like not playing anymore. Then there's no tension. It's removed a lot of the tension of.
See, I personally, and I'll say as much during when Jeremy's on here. I actually like mechanics like this. I know.
I love it. I think it's fantastic.
I know
that it pushes the design space of this game in a way that a lot of other games couldn't handle because of the openness of Age of Sigmar. And I think my favorite MOBA was Heroes of the Storm. Andrew, have you ever played Heroes of the Storm?
Yeah, I've played Heroes of the Storm. It was not the one I stuck with, but I've played it.
It had fantastic ease of, because you share group XP, so it had an ease of openness into the design space. So there's a hero called Abathur, and he's only got like two health points, but he puts a symbiote on people's heads, and he can go all around the map. So he's practically like playing an RTS game while everybody's playing a MOBA. So he can jump around and do that. Then there's these Lost Vikings who are 3 different heroes in one. So they go in all the lanes and farm the XP for the team. And the amount of variety of the heroes in that game and the design space in that game was super interesting, and the interactions were super interesting. And you get a lot of that too in Age of Sigmar, with everybody having these abilities and interesting interactions and stuff that like messes with the flow of the game. I love the activation wars. I think it's awesome. I think it pushes the game and makes it like just combo-y enough in an interesting tactical way of variety that you don't get from just raw stats. You don't get from just like, give you more move, give you more rend, give your opponent less move, give your opponent less rend, give yourself more armor, give them less armor. Like the movement and playing with how the game functions and the order of rules happening, to me, is the most interesting part of this game, and what it like really keeps it alive. And so something like this is super fantastic for me. But I can confirm it sucks. It did not go well for me.
So like, yeah, I mean, so you think it sucks. It didn't go well for you ever. I think that the logistical issue of how you do this is a bit of a challenge that needs to be solved. But
it
beyond,
does,
as a community,
if we're just talking straight rules, like if I don't know, if like every TO, let's say every TO just has all up there at the front, there's no logistical issue, or like a computer just solves it for you, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think it's super thematic too. Like, is it cool? Yes. Is it thematic? Yes. Does it force interesting decisions? Maybe. Probably not.
I mean, because you're always playing for the worst case scenario if you're a good opponent anyway. And if I'm playing,
you're always, but also like knowing when you get the turn, like knowing that your opponent is going to get the turn back on you, you're going to play for that. Like if you're a good player, you're going to play that way anyway, unless it's the other. So it doesn't give you like any additional information. All it does is free you up to go for a double when you know you can get the double, which to me is, I mean, that's really strong, but does that make you like think that much? Is that an interesting interaction? I'm not sure, and I haven't really thought about it too much. It's just it seemed like, okay, I get the double now, so I run everything forward. That's all you have to think about. But yes, is it cool? Yes. Is it thematic? Absolutely, man. Archaon can see the future a little bit, and he's a master tactician. Why wouldn't you want this rule in the game? I really think it's good. And I hope it works out, and I hope that nobody's dice or coin gets bumped and causes them a bad time at a tournament.
Yeah. I mean, that's the main caveat here. The thing I like about it is, I like the mini game it causes. That's where I like enjoy. Why do I love Hand of Dust? It could just as easily be flip a coin, kill the model. It's slain outright. But like that, you have to like guess the die adds that interactivity the guessing game, the bluffing, the shit talk that I personally am a big fan of. Like, I'm just going to talk crap the whole time while you're going to try to get in your head. I like this because I think in a playful manner, the bluff, you're adding poker now to the game. Like, you're adding the poker game to it, which is what I just enjoy. I like adding...
But like in poker, like there's this whole like tempo thing, and you can bully people, and you have these resources that you spend. Just knowing that you're going to get a double or not get a double, I just don't think it affects the game that much. I don't think it affects your opponent's decisions.
Maybe not from like a table standpoint, but from an interaction, I think it does. I think you have a conversation. You're like, oh, am I?
Hey, yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Like it affects the tension of the game. No, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm thinking from a gameplay standpoint, but it's definitely like injects some new kind of energy into the dynamic, which is good, right? It's a bit about the narrative, like. It's also cool to think like your opponent doesn't know and you know, so like you might feel like you're towering. Or
like you're an RP.
You get the high ground.
Yeah, you're RPing. You know, like you're RPing, and you're just like you get like this like swagger about you. Like I like stuff like that. You know, I think it preys on the feels bad of the double turn already, and people's. You know, where you come down on priority versus not, people, the people who already have existing emotions about that are going to feel a lot worse about this because this just plays into part of that. But as you get better at the game, and again, it might surprise you to know that, like, I'm not a big fan of priority rolls. But I accept them as part of the game, so I play to them. Or against with and so on and so forth. Like, you just have to be, it's a game concept, so then you play with it. And so, like, I'm not upset about it in the same way, like, it's just a game concept, you're going to look at it and go, okay, like, I was already expecting to lose priority anyway, so I just played that way to begin with, and, now they're pushing all their stuff up, now I know what's underneath their shot glass there in the corner. Alright, like, cool, let's go. Or they're bluffing me with pushing all their stuff up, and I played conservative now, and I seeded objectives near the center of the table. I just think that's going to make for a... I look forward to it, actually. Like, I'm looking forward to it.
I guess, you would, man, because you're a showman like that. I can imagine you, like, rolling the die, looking at it, you, like...
Yeah.
Look up at your opponent, and you're like, hey, man, you better go grab a sandwich. I'm going to be doing stuff for a while.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, and I mean,
then they come back with their sandwich, and you're like, you ready to take your turn at the top of two? What? With sandwich in your mouth, and you're like, haha, caught you with your pants down and sandwich in your mouth.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I can see you doing that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I look forward to it. Honestly, I think it's neat. I'm
really happy about it. I think a good player will be not too affected by it. But hey, man, if you think about it, if you really want to go for doubles, you are changing it back to a 50% chance instead of the whatever it, because the tie, ties work out too. You know what I'm saying with the priority rule?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. We're like,
that first turn wins ties. So I don't know what the percentage is. That's probably 6% or 8%, right?
It's a slight
half of the 16%.
Yeah.
So it's like 58% or whatever for your opponent, and 42 for you to get the double.
Yeah.
So you bump it back to that 50%, which is nice. So that's a strategy too, man. Going for doubles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can just run away if you know you're not going to get the double. You don't have to risk it for that chocolate biscuit. Then you can just pull back.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing is, like, you're going to play...
But then you're pulling back, then you're not...
You're not being aggressive. You're not dictating the pace of the game.
We'll see how I'm interested to play some games with that. I do have... in my cupboards, I do have bowls and plates and stuff like that. So I'll get one of the plates out of there for a base. I think it's about that big. So I do have an Archaon-sized base I can proxy using a dinner plate.
Proxying Archon with a dinner plate, or Archaon with a dinner plate. I love it.
Yeah, just a piece of chocolate cake on there.
It's he's tactically a genius and delicious too. Man,
So that's where I'm at with that. I also want to say I hope Vanguard are good. When I ran Vanguard, I ran them with the Khorne Lord on Juggernaut.
mm-hmm.
I tried all different kinds of stuff with Khorne Mortals. I tried some Gore Pilgrims. I tried that Overlords of Chaos. I did that Bloodmarked Warband, a Dark Feast, um, all sorts of stuff with Khorne Mortals. And the Vanguard, you could give +1 to wound, and then you give them the spears, so they're on the charge. They were twos, Ren 2, damage 2. So just twos across the board. And they're still pretty good at that. But that was only on the charge. And Vanguard were the original activation wars. Actually, it was probably the Dance Macabre wars, right?
Yeah, well, the double pile-in from Dance Macabre was a little bit of a...
So Vanguard had a once per game double pile-in as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then Archie could also mark a unit for destruction. So they get +1 to hit against that unit. So when they're fully buffed, they're like, you're going down. And then they go in and then they once per game pile in twice. And even 2 of them piling in twice was pretty good. I always thought they needed 1 more wound and then they would be a good unit. Because you always lose 1 and then, yeah, it just doesn't go. I also thought it cool, when I was thinking about Archaon as being like the tactical genius, I thought a cool allegiance ability would be to mess with coherency, because coherency isn't something that's been used for design space in Age of Sigmar yet.
We've got a couple rules that have like essentially forced movement, quote unquote. Like you are forced to move closer to me, which I think.
Well, I was thinking about my unit. So like Vanguard are so badass and can communicate so well that they have a 7-inch coherency instead of 1 inch.
That's crazy,
and the unit still counts as incoherency.
That'd be crazy town. I like it.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, that'd be really cool. And as we talk about all these rules and stuff, it really is going to hinge on whether the army is good or not, right?
It's going to hinge on the war scrolls and if what people are hitting on with Rend and how your shields are, what your saves are. But I just get the sense, given all the books that are coming out, just have been really home runs. Aside from Beastclaw Raiders. The Ogre seemed good, but Beastclaw seemed a little weak. And
well, yeah,
but you can run 6 Stonehorns, so that's good at least.
Right. Like maybe there's some afterthoughts there, and like the changes to Beastclaw Raiders. Mournfang somehow missing the bite that everybody got and still hitting on 4s when everyone else hits on 3s. Like all that stuff, missed opportunities, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
but like,
I think the army is just going to come right together. I think it's going to be fantastic, and there's going to be a lot of choices. And
yeah.
Is that all the rules we have? Is that everything?
Yeah, I mean they did tease a bunch more in the Warhammer TV episode, which I simply didn't watch. I probably should have, but I mean this is just the cursory build hype, talk about it, things we're interested in, and then we'll all do the deep dive with Jeremy. Because conceivably the book will be out then. So I wanted to pay the way I paid respects to Ossiarch.
Did Jeremy play Everchosen?
Do you think a guy who's on the a podcast called the Everchosen podcast will play Slaves to Darkness? I wonder. I don't know. I'll ask him. We'll see.
I don't know. I tried to play against him and he wasn't available. His family was sick and he had a baby, supposedly.
Like he made up the baby just to dodge a game from you because he's a coward. Is that what you're saying?
Well, losing his hometown, obviously.
He didn't want you coming into his house.
I see right through this the way that Archaon sees getting the next priority.
Oh man. So I mean, just oh man, you got to spend the command points though. So AOS coach here says he likes the coherency idea. A bit like 40k. Vanguard are too expensive, way too pricey. I think, Smoochie, that, like, Vince actually broke it down pretty nicely yesterday on Warhammer Weekly in terms of, like, the cost of an army and how it ends up actually making for an affordable army. And honestly, painting one of them, you might as well be painting 40 fucking skeletons because they take so long to paint.
Yeah, I feel like I could paint 40 Golden Demon-worthy skeletons in the time it takes me to paint that. Wonderful. I mean, he has like 2 skeletons worth of bone on him. All those panels. If you have, you can show those pictures of what I'm working on if you got those.
You sent those in the Facebooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about your hobby here. So are you going? You're going to PACA, yeah?
Yes. I
Uh,
will bring Zinch to PACA.
really?
Yeah.
This is news to me. I didn't know you were bringing I didn't know you were bringing Zinch.
Yeah. I have about a third of it done. I have a lot more to do. But I get 2 weeks off for Christmas at my job, so.
Yeah, I'm actually I get laid off in January for a month. Uh, so um don't
What will you
worry.
bring to Wapaka?
Ossiarch Bonereapers is the plan, and I am. So I didn't make Wapaka last year for reasons. I had the opportunity to, and I don't know. This is like a makeup year for me. Like I'm getting to go and like it's like a long journey finally reaching its conclusion that like should have happened a year ago. So I'm actually bringing Nagash again. I should have been there last year with Nagash.
Yeah,
So
buddy.
so I'm bringing Nagash
I
this
can't
year.
wait.
So
Wapaka is the best tournament. It's my favorite thing. It was my favorite, probably like my favorite couple days of last year. And it started early in January. I grew up in Stevens Point, which is about 20 minutes away from Wapaka.
uh-huh.
I played when I was 13 years old. I played with the guys who did Wapaka. They were in their 20s. So they were the ones who I ever first gamed with.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to meet them again going to Wapaka tournament. So it's like going home with me.
Yeah, yeah. So that's cool.
And everybody's just got the spirit. Everybody's got the best spirit of the game. Everybody's talking. Everybody's looking at everybody's armies.
Yeah,
it's a great time.
Yeah, I'm bringing Nagash because he should have been there last year with me. So I'm bringing Nagash. He will be in his new facelifted form. So you know, be prepared for Nagash in Ossiarch Bonereapers. But I'm told that's fine. That's not a problem. It's when you run the full on Petrifex monstrosity. So yeah,
you run Petrifex Nagash, right?
Yes, I am, of course.
Cool. Yeah.
YOLO solo Nagash. I mean, that's the thing though. Is like, can you make 900 points back with one model? Right. That's the whole game. And like
900 arcane bolts, man.
I can't wait. It's gonna be so much fun. And that's the thing is like I'm just being like I'm going to PACA, which is like I'm told by many accounts, and it's just been built up in my mind like Christmas at this point where I'm like, oh, it's gonna be so sweet. Everyone says it's awesome. Like oh, like they do beer hoistings for tiebreakers. Like I'm fucking about that life. Yeah, you know, it's this like cross section
on Sunday before you need to leave.
Yeah, like this is at the cross section between like Wisco culture and Age of Sigmar. Like I just think so it's like it's kind of like this promised land for me at this point. And I feel it's going there. I gotta be on brand, man. I gotta bring my boy Nagash. So I'll do that. It's gonna
Good
be
for you. Get those dudes painted up and
yeah. I've been on my journey. I finally got 3 of these guys painted. I know Smoochy Boochies is in here. His hobby is going great. He's got his bone shaper together as we speak. He's like Frodo reaching the fires of Mount Doom. So yeah, I'm bringing
it up, Smoochy. Get that chip painted. Yeah, get it done.
And I ordered a wet palette, so like I've got that coming in the mail.
It's gonna change your life.
I'm a real hobbyist now. So I'm looking at your Vanguard here. Is this using the wax metals?
Yeah, those are the wax metals.
One more time, what were those called?
AK Interactive. If you look up AK Interactive, I think they're called True Metals.
And you like these over like the Vallejos and stuff, huh?
Yes, I do.
Oh wow! Shots fired at Vallejo metals.
Vallejo, I mean, they're fine. I have like Vallejo that I use.
Mm-hmm.
But these, I love blending these with the oils, and I love the metals because I don't do shiny, like super pristine shiny metals, so it's easy to make them dirty and oxidized and stuff. And you just blend them in, man. There's nothing better than just like feathering in some nice shadows into metals.
Yeah.
Well, that's a chosen.
Yeah, this Chaos Chosen, pretty old school. This is like you're talking about like the oxidized, like dirty metals. I love how just the range of color you get in the metal. Like, I love it. And this is
make it interesting.
This is these AK Interactives, huh?
Yeah, that's AK metals.
Yeah.
And then just whatever oil paints you buy at your store. The thing, I mean, you really want to buy oil paints made for models. You want to buy Abtalon is the best brand. That's what you want to buy, but they're more expensive, and they're more expensive because the amount of oil that's in them is suitable to dry faster because there's a lot more oils and stuff that's going to go on a canvas because it gets sucked up by the canvas. So you want to buy oils that are made for minis, and Abtalon is the best brand.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if they do metallics, but I get the 8K. Oh man, that looks really nice. I like that his axe, whatever that is.
Yeah, well, this is that like color. It's almost like when metal gets heated. You can see that that edge. It's really cool.
Yeah, he's got some green. The purple and red looks just so nice. And
yeah, I like the green. It's a little mossy on his shoulder. Actually, it's like
he's got something growing on there. Yeah, so I painted him a while. I was just like messing around. Chaos Chosen models that did not age well, and apparently we're not getting new kits, which is too bad. But Chaos Chosen are real bad, man. They were always like bad brutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like brutes that can't go faster and don't hit as hard and cost more. There's my Chaos Warriors.
Yeah, and I mean,
he's put on his Stormcast head because he found it and he wanted to show how badass he was. He doesn't like Stormcast. They take his friends right before they.
This is fucking awesome.
Yeah, isn't he cool?
This is Kairos?
Oh, which one? That guy? Yeah, the bird. Yeah.
Man,
no, that's just the big bird. I don't know. I just built it with the random stuff. I didn't know if it was Kairos. No, Kairos has two heads. That's right, because one sees all of the future and one sees all the past with perfect objectivity, and neither of them see the present moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he has like the perfectly laid plans, but he doesn't know when to spring the trap. And
fucking, it's so cool. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Why is everything in Sigmar so cool?
Because it's a fantasy game. It's so far pushed in the crazy world. And that's part of the thing is like the thing that like can be unbalanced and unfortunate is also one of the things that gives it so much personality and life, right?
Yeah.
And like that's where like I've grown to appreciate priority roll for what it is. You know, we're like it might surprise you to find out that I don't think it's the greatest mechanic. But then on the other hand, it's like giving some people that like illusion of any given Sunday, like I could steal the game if I steal the double turn, like giving people that like play for the double strategy when you're outmatched. Things like that make it more interesting than you go, I go, you go, I go. Like in the moment I think everyone can say they've lost a game due to a priority roll, right? Not breaking their way. But on the other hand, you've probably won a game because it broke your way too. So
true.
I try to look at the decisions I've made and not the dice, though. Whenever I'm trying to like get better as a player, I try to look at the decisions and never the dice. Because
say that when your pieces get foot gorked off.
All right, come at me, bro. No, it's like I'll get at Holy Havoc. The reason we beat Sporadic Mike and Jeff was because I got the Foot of Gork off multiple times. There was a terrain piece that basically cast it, and because I was
Foot of Gork. Oh yeah, okay, it's Holy
Holy Havoc. Yeah, so it was like I got the terrain piece to like Foot of Gork his Maw Crusher like 3 or 4 times, which meant that Joe was able to like kill it with 2 Mournfang.
Awesome. You did what I could not. I could not kill Mike's Maw Crusher. I really like Mike. We had a good game.
He's a great dude.
He's like smiling and like something good happens. So there's something sweet. We're like fighting and he's high five, little high five here and there.
Well, he's got a really great disposition, and he genuinely is engaged in your game, and his banter game is on point. So he'll talk with you throughout the whole game. It was doubles, so he's given his buddy just as much shit as us. So it was great. It was just a lot of fun.
I told him, I was like, here's what's gonna happen, man. Our Maw Crushers, and one of us is gonna miss a lot, and the other one's gonna hit slightly.
Yeah.
Bad. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, that's what you want to do. You just want to, when you're playing huge, awesome crap, you just want it to fight huge, awesome crap, right? You just want to fight.
Maw Crusher versus Maw Crusher, I could not do it.
I have handed dusted a Maw Crusher or 2 in my day. Feels bad, man. Feels great,
okay,
dude.
So tell me, Andrew, let's do this one. Yeah. So You're the host. Tell me, what have you hand dusted, and then I will tell you what I've slayed with kings.
Okay. So I have hand dusted a Nagash. I have hand dusted.
So you were the true Nagash.
Yeah, but I've also lost my Nagash to a hand dust too. So I've been on both sides.
Shit. Okay, so that's unclear then.
It's still unclear. Yeah. So I have hand dusted a Nagash. I have hand dusted a Vlazda. I have hand dusted all like a Bell. The Grace Huron Screaming Bell or whatever. I've hand dusted one of those. I've hand dusted like the Warp Seer, the Vermin Lord Corruptor, the unkillable one, the Warp Seer, I think.
Sweet.
So I've hand dusted the unkillable one. I have hand dusted. I've hand dusted a lot of Vermin Lords because one of the only LGS guys I get to play Skaven, and I just like hand dust his shit all the time. It's really funny. Bad for him. Maw Crusher was like a highlight of my hand dusting. I've hand dusted somebody's. What army was it? It was. I think it was Chaos. I think it was Chaos, Mixed Chaos. I hand dusted their standard bearer for kicks. I've hand dusted various like individual like Stormcast Eternal models to ruin their coherency, and I have hand dusted legendarily a Star Drake. I have hand dusted.
Yeah, I was next to you when that happened.
That was a great game. Can you hand dust Gotrek? You cannot. You will just do one mortal wound to Gotrek.
Yeah, anything I think that kills him would just do one.
Yeah, it just does one.
Okay.
I haven't successfully hand dusted a Marathi, though I've tried to resolve it. They just guessed the die. It's a dream of mine to hand dust a Marathi. It's on it's one of the things I really really want to do. God, I feel like I'm missing like some really important one. Oh yeah, Nighthaunt Chariot has been hand dusted, and like 3 other Nighthaunt heroes have been hand dusted.
Wow. Your list is way bigger than my Archon.
I mean, I played Nagash exclusively for like an entire year with like a tournament a month. 5 games.
Yeah.
5 rounds each, trying to hand dust crap. Like, that said, I usually walk away from the tournament only having hand dusted something successfully, like 1 or 2 games. I'm never the guy who like successfully hand dust something every game. Like, that's not so. But yeah. Oh, so what's your
more Stonehorns than I can count?
Poor Joe.
Yeah, probably like 15 or 16. Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. Archon the Black.
Oh, you got Archon?
Yeah. Let's see.
Continue.
Bloodthirster.
Didn't get me a Bloodthirster yet.
Would have got that Phoenix if the Deadly Train hadn't got me to smoke me. Got him. Got an old Vermin Lord, the Warpnaw Vermin Lord.
Okay.
That was Wayne Kemp's. Killed his Vermin Lord. Who else did I kill? Oh, Maw Crusher.
So you got...
one of the little Fire Slayers hero. Who cares which? One little Nurgle hero. Don't know which one.
I haven't hand dusted a Guo yet. I haven't had that. I haven't gotten me a Guo yet.
Nope, haven't gotten him yet. I think that's it for me, man.
Or a mag, or like any of like the cool big awesome Nurgle stuff. I haven't gotten them yet. A lot of Nurgle games I just don't get the hand dust. Like it doesn't like successfully. Either the die doesn't. The die gets picked, or like I don't. Usually, where my combo breaks down is unsummoning my own spell portal. Like, I just can't roll that 7. I basically I usually get the first attempt off, go for the hand dust.
So you're gonna get that Lord of Change and get +2 to cast, and then re-roll your failed casts.
Well, and here's the thing: is like Nagash and Archon both now have +3 to their actual like unsummonings.
You're right, man. The Lord of Change doesn't get it for dispelling. That's true.
So like it's you get it now, but then like if you use Nagash to remove the Umbral spell portal, he can't then himself cast it, so you have to have somebody else do it, and you don't have anybody with bonuses anyway. So you're just like trying to roll that 7 straight up with like a Necromancer. Traditionally, it's been a Necromancer for me. It'll be like a Bone Shaper going forward. And that hot take, I don't think you run Umbral spell portal in Petrifex Nagash. I just don't think you do it. You can, but an opponent, Slayer of Kings, my Carmine Dragon off the table. I did kill Archaon with 40 Free-Killed Swordsman, though.
He's easy to kill once mine died to a Soul Grinder.
Once yours died to a Soul Grinder?
Yeah.
Who was running a Soul Grinder?
A guy named Tom. He was the ringer at Brew City Brawl. He was wearing a shirt that said Archie rules, Sigmar drools.
Man, I want to get one printed that says Nagash rules, Sigmar rules.
Yeah, get it.
I've been throwing
rules with a Z too. That guy was awesome. He was the ringer from hell. He just like won all his first 3 games.
He just couldn't. He was allergic to rolling bad too.
So. He was like, Brendan told me he showed up. He was like, I brought this really fluffy list, brother. It's really fluffy. It's got this. It's this thing called the Plague Touch Warband. And Brendan was like, you can't run a Plague Touch Warband. Is he like, oh, okay, man, I'll bring this other fluffy stuff. Just a bunch of nerds. He just like Chaos Knights, and he swarmed me, and he killed all my tiny heroes with the Plague Squall, the D3s from the sky.
Yeah, the literally raining filth down on you.
Raining filth.
Aren't slaves getting soul grinders? I think they confirm soul grinders are sticking around.
Yes, soul grinders are in, and if you ever put one on the table, I will resign and not play you because they are so ugly.
So, strategies for beating Andrew in tournaments in the Midwest.
Run the ugliest army. I'll be like, I'm not putting my models by this.
My models are too pristine to be besmirched with your ugly
with your
shit.
soul grinder.
Well, like, there's that small part of my brain that's like, soul grinders could be cool because it's the Doom thing again. You know, like, I'm consistent, but
all the proportions are wrong.
So it's just not. It's not decent.
It's just silly looking.
Yeah.
I don't want to run against silly. I want to run against badass.
I agree. I want to fight sweet crap with my sweet crap. So I think we're kind of approaching like the closeout here. Do you feel like we've adequately hyped people for Slaves to Darkness?
It's going to be good. Like, the stuff you want to run is probably going to be good. There's going to be a lot of options. I hope Chaos Chosen gets super choppy and you can run 10 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Knights are going to be probably just a little bit of a buff. They were pretty good before. I think they're going to be a little better. You're going to see a lot. You're going to see a lot of power pairs with the aura mechanics. You're going to see a lot of toolkits available. You're going to see a lot of interesting tactical ideas, and probably a lot of it is going to work together like a box because it's going to be supported by just some good battle line.
Yeah, and it looks like there's some modular qualities with the way they're letting you mark everything too, and the keyword bingo might not be as bad as it could be. I think they just, when I saw Cities and I'm like, okay, Cities is a good book. I'm like, and then they announced Slaves to Darkness. I'm like, Slaves to Darkness is going to be a good book. The more rules.
I don't think it's going to be that the keyword stuff. I think it's going to be like marks, and you can mark
exactly
dudes however you want. Exactly. So you can make it your own.
Yeah, exactly. I see a lot more. I think they're going a lot more that direction than like locking you.
Yeah. It's going to be like you got your warriors. You can mark them Slanesh, so they're fast. You're going to mark them Nurgle, so they're tanky. You're going to mark them Khorne, so they're killy. You're going to mark them Tzeentch, so they ignore spells. What are you going to do? And I think it's going to be that for a minute. And you're going to be able to build the list to do what you want. So it's going to stick around for a while too because of that. You're going to be able to stick around and adapt to metas. If you got to be more killy, you can be more killy. And the allies pools are going to be massive. I think you're going to see bring in a greater demon. Bring in some plague bearers. Bring in some little demon squads to
Right.
and we're bringing some fast moving stuff. The ally pool is going to be interesting to see how people make their armies, and the armies are going to look good too because there's just such a good blend of models.
Yeah. Yeah. Bringing some Beasts of
I'm
Chaos
super
and
interested in
Wildfire
God
too.
stuff, so I'm gonna buy this, and then I'll probably do Chaos for the next 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're buying back in. You're on the hype train. We're shoveling coal.
Yeah, maybe not Archie. Maybe not Archie. I'm still hard about that.
Like you just like your heart is broken and like you don't know if it's healed yet.
I also don't want to paint that model again. I like the model. I really don't like the wings. I think the wings are really ugly.
Swap them out, yo.
Yeah, the wings are like as such that like the bottom membrane of the wing spans like the majority of Dorgar's torso
Mm-hmm.
in a way that would be like really hard to cut off and sculpt. But I would like, I don't know if he was like hairier. Also, I think you gotta I'm gonna do it, and if anybody else wants to do this, totally fine. There's no Slanesh head, right? So you just gotta mold like a massive purple horse penis on Dorgar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you want to put
Just like a huge purple.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you put like you just put like get like a little piece of lap sack and like make a on it so you can take it off when you're going for the double when you roll that.
When you go for you could
That was the biggest wasted allegiance ability was
what?
like no edging mechanic in Slanesh. Like, your dudes get harder and harder as they go on, go harder. Well, I told that to Joe, and Joe was like, if ability persists for more than 4 battle rounds, call your doctor.
Like, that's your like so like every
Your
so
terrain
like
is just like a giant penis, just like snap.
yeah, like it's just you just put a rubbery dildo on top of a pile of treasure and it just bounces around.
Too silly, I guess. Too silly.
Too far. I guess you can go too far. The edging mechanic's still pretty funny. And like
edging mechanic.
Roll a die like at the beginning of every turn. You know, basically they get harder as long as they don't like roll a 1 and
just like adding more to their stats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as they don't explode too early.
As long as they don't succumb to depravity.
God damn it. Oh man. But no, from a rules standpoint, I look at a lot of these rules. I see like really good design. I see envelopes getting pushed. I don't think you need to be super alarmist about Dark Prophecy. Also, I look forward to hearing what Jeremy has to say on the subject himself. If we might be of two different minds on that one.
Yeah, Jeremy's probably a better player than me. Anyway.
No,
we wouldn't know because we haven't.
He's just throwing shade still. Yeah, so I'm excited. I just think this does a great thing for the game. First off, let people play with their toys is just something I will always believe. It's why I don't prescribe to the ban Slanesh mentality. It's why I don't buy into the negativity of like getting mad at people for chasing the meta. Because if they want to play with their toys, let them play with their toys, and that goes both ways. If they want to play with their old cities crap, you know, their old models, like as long as it looks good, just let people play with their toys. You know, like that's really
you can figure out your motivations, figure out what playing means to you, and go find the people
that. Yeah, and then go play with those people.
Be honest about it.
Yeah, and just
get to those top tables, and you'll have a great time. I usually give my sports posts to the people who played the hardest and were like most serious about the game.
Yeah. Jeremy Cooper actually got my sports vote at Adepticon, so I was in that 55-way tie for best sports that they had to like tiebreaker. I think he might have been in there too. He got my best sports vote because it was the most tactical game played all weekend with a great opponent who was just like really jovial, like super.
I give my best sports vote to his buddy Dan. That guy was cracking me up. He's from San Antonio. He's playing the Gits.
Yeah. I think we talked about that coming back from Adepticon. Yeah. So before we
Texas guys, you're welcome up here anytime.
Yeah, come on up here. We'll I've actually got a spare bedroom up here. So yeah, you guys are welcome up here anytime. Real quick, anything else to add on STD before I ask you my strange questions from the internet?
No, this is it looks good. It looks interesting. It looks like it's going to be worthy of the variety of models. Hopefully, it won't be another Beast of Chaos situation where like all the monsters are bad.
So, I mean, here's the thing: is like I look at the rules, and they already have rules that are like even more interesting than what Beasts of Chaos have. Don't get me wrong, like they have our summoning too, but there's no trade off for their summoning or positional requirements, right?
Sure.
Like
Sure.
they can play with our best spell actually. So like they can bring in a Great Bray Shaman with a Wildfire Taurus, and they can exploit it with the Cabalists sub faction. Like I already
We
look
don't
at
know if they're the allies yet. We don't know.
right. We don't know if they have allies. My Beast of Chaos book still Beast of Chaos still currently, as of the latest GHB, say Slaves to Darkness are our ally. So I just imagine that goes the other way. We'll see. One thing I want from this is for it to have a huge sweet monster or hero that I can ally into Beast of Chaos, and like then the army's just like playing with like an entirely new technology piece, something like that. Like I would think that'd be cool. Seeing
good
how
for the game, man. It's good for the game.
yeah. Seeing how like marks work, seeing if I'm able to bring my Bestigors over, stuff like that. Like I just like looking at, or my Bestigors are now Chaos Warriors. I have a big hobby challenge ahead of me, making them all look like not Chaos Warriors. They are my Marauders, you know, like they're fucking feral and stuff. I can see like there being some
I
fun.
think they're on 32, so I think they got to be warriors.
Fine. Oh, that's less fun because Warriors look sweet already. But like, yeah. So like, I just think there's a lot of great avenues and points of intersection for what STD is doing, where it's headed.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it could be busted to crap. Everything's like like Skaven costed, and there's 3 other rules we don't know about. That's just like absurd. Who knows? But right now, I'm optimistic. I choose to be optimistic. Even the stuff that seems on surface level kind of like a little pushed. I'm like, 1, wait for the FAQ. 2, wait for the points. Wait for all that other stuff. So
it's going to be Ravagers. I'm telling you now. Ravagers.
He's calling a shot. He's saying Ravagers is going to be the first one to podium at a tournament. Podium or win? Yeah. I think podium's good enough. It's a horse apiece once you're on the podium.
Yeah, Ravagers will go 5-0.
Okay. All right. So I like that. So
it gives me hope, man. It gives me hope for all the next battle tomes. So we got another. They're willing to try. We got Gotrek. We got the War Clans being super interesting. Lots of different abilities, lots of tactical ideas in those books. Lots of good strategic ideas too, but a lot of good tactical ideas in all the Iron Jaws stuff. Interesting with the Relentless Discipline and the Bonereapers, and now we get this book, which is saying they're willing to do this interesting stuff and take risks. And so Seraphon's coming next. And
is it Seraphon next, or is it KO Zinch?
Seraphon or Zinch, we don't know, but I think it's Seraphon. So Seraphons are weird. They're tricky, man. Those lizardmen are sneaky, so maybe we'll see some good stuff there too. Maybe we'll see some priority roll coming in, and we'll get more of that.
Well, I want to see Seraphon. Zinch needs to get updated just from a sheer logistics standpoint. All the Chaos Gods have been updated now. We have STD. Yeah. Zinch needs to be updated.
And you can't use the book, and you have to like parse through FAQs to like. I'm struggling to like figure out. I'm like rewriting my own book essentially so that I know where everything is.
Yeah,
and this is my Zinch, like. So here's my This is my Zinch board. It's like a board game board practically. So I put tokens on here for fate points, blue points, brim points, and then these are all my casters, and then I can take off tokens when they've casted. And then down here I also have to mark like make a section for endless spell or for the spell lures for who has casted what, so I know it's available or not. And I got my destiny dice up here, so this will help to help through see what I'm doing with the Zinch.
That's actually a really smart idea. No, I've actually it's funny you talk about like Zinch in your book. We've already had like just a couple FAQs. What's sitting on my desk right now, my project once I get off RantCast, is I've got a pile of Post-it notes on my Ossiarch Bonereapers tome. And what I do is I actually take the Post-its and I go and I write the errata date, or the FAQ date, and like what the errata says on the Post-it. I just stick it to the page inside the tome. So like,
if you have a battle tome, I don't buy that.
If I did that with Zinch, it would just like be a nightmare. It would be more Post-it than man anymore. You know, like he's more Post-it than man now. like, Yeah, Darth Vader reference, yo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, speaking of which, so a child, I found their story they wrote today.
Mm-hmm.
A 6-year-old.
And just to reset real quick, you're a teacher.
Yeah.
So anyone who if you're not familiar with Andrew, he's a teacher. So you found a story 6-year-old wrote.
We'll just call him Billy. And it's like Billy was chapter 1. Billy was walking down the street one day. Chapter 2. Billy met Sally. Chapter 3. Billy was so happy to have a new best friend, but then Darth Vader. But Billy was too powerful. The end.
Great, man. I like that. It's actually like that's a proper narrative arc. So
that's what I said. I was like, this is like a rudimentary understanding of source.
Yeah.
Normal. Something happens. Conflict over. Man falls in hole. Right.
Yeah. You've got a villain, an obstacle. You've got like. You even
Darth Vader, but
he's
too powerful.
Expectation or like a desire for the character in the scene, having a new best friend or wanting a new best friend, like you see have a character motivation in there.
There's a climax. It's weak, but it's fucking there.
That's right, man. It's just but no, like when you're at that age and you can actually identify like the structure of a narrative. Way to go, Billy.
Yeah.
Good job, Billy. That actually brings me to my first question.
I'm ready.
Strange questions from the internet here.
I'm ready.
If Archeon were a school teacher, what would he teach? And you can't say physical education. Like you could go like. So if Archeon were a school teacher, what subject would he teach, or grade would he teach? Would he teach for a Montessori school? If Archeon were a teacher,
he would teach adolescents, and he would chess. And he would not treat them very kindly.
he would teach adolescents. What was the subject? You said he'd be a chess he'd run the chess club.
Be the chess club coach.
He'd be the chess club coach. What would the subject be that he like teaches in the school then?
Oh man. Probably something is history. Yeah, probably history.
History. Smoochie here says ethics. Like I could see like him being an economist too. Like he teaches economy, like health class. All right.
Does he wears armor when he's teaching?
Oh, that's probably. Probably. And like
because I'm imagining teaching the armor and just like you point things on the chalkboard about.
Yeah, he's using the Kingslayer and he's just like pointing out.
He's like making them. He's like makes the map move to show what happened after the Weimar Republic fell and it all transformed.
Full armor.
Dorgar's parked outside in the teacher's lot.
Yeah, Dorgar's parked in the teacher's lot with a little permit like tag like hung around one of his heads, like he's eating a tire. So if a student got in a line, Dorgar just eats them. Like I like to think of it like he goes like really really brutal and stuff like that, but then you go a little like Death Clock with it, where like the humor is there, like, and you could write like a whole comic book or TV show with like Professor Archeon.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like he'd be in the teacher's lounge, and it would be like normal people, but then like a couple like weird, like Nagash would like come in or something like that, and he's like he teaches God, what would
Nagash teach like religion or something, man, right? Because he's got all the afterlives.
Yeah, he's like all the he'd be mythology, right? Like I think he'd be like he'd be like a mythology and theology professor. And like he comes in there like, oh man, these kids are eating me alive today. I had to steal 4 of their
Sigmar's
souls.
the principal, right?
Yeah, Nagash is the principal. Oh, that's even better.
Sigmar's the principal.
No, because you have to have the Archeon Sigmar rivalry, like where they're like actively like rivals to each other, and Nagash is like the principal being like thwarted and stuff.
Like, yeah, that makes sense. So Alariel teaches PE because look at her fucking quads.
Look at those gams, man. Yeah, Nagash is the fucking math teacher.
Yeah. Alariel's standing there like that pic of J-Lo with a green dress with just fucking leg. You know the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the beast. She does not skip leg day.
So my next question then. So last week I had Doug from 2 Plus Tough on. We kind of ended up on this weird tangent about like Age of Sigmar Fight Club, basically. Like, the whole thing is like if he were to fight Rob, who would win, and what like would their venue be?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So I've got a 2-part question for you. If you'd like to do the Fight Club, like you could answer the Fight Club, but who would you challenge to like a chess duel in the community?
I don't know if anybody plays chess. It seems like it would just be a waste of time, right?
I know, but like take it like cartoonishly, like there's like your tiebreaker in an Age of Sigmar tournament is that like you have to like go to chess, like you got to throw down.
Oh man, I play Relian.
Relian?
Yeah.
Right on. So yeah, Brad from the Detroit Warhammer Club.
I mean, I don't know if he plays chess or not. I just really, really good at Age of Sigmar, and then beat them at something they're probably not very good at.
That's savage. All right. The first rule about Fight Club.
Oh.
Sigmar is the jock, Archeon is the AV club. And if you wanted to answer the Fight Club half of that, you're more than welcome to, but it's not necessary. We obviously don't mean you're going to get into fisticuffs with anyone. But, man. ROB would just start several heroes on paths to destroy Nagash, then chill and watch the show. And yeah, so anything you want to shout out tonight?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I have anything.
And if people want to like follow your hobbies,
there's a good video by Trevarian that's out painting.
Mm-hmm.
He just talks about contrast. He just talks about like painting up volumes, and his technique to do it is totally different than my technique, but it might be good for anybody who's not a trained artist who hasn't looked at volumes for their whole life and thinking about how light works professionally for a long time. So how he does it is you can watch it just like he starts with the highlights. So he starts with his highest color. So he goes into every part of the model and he like just pinpoints the highlights, and then he transitions upwards to those highlights. So you can take the model and look at it and then see how your highlights are going to look before you spend all this time blending. Now, I just go in and I just pick a part of the model. So like you look at the Lord of Change there. So you just like pick that shoulder muscle, and then you start with the lowest color, and then I just start blending up because I know I'm just put it in the right spot. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go up. But if you try that and like, then you're doing 8 highlight layers, so it looks like really blending up, and your point of light is like a 0.5 centimeter too far down, and you're like, shit, what do we do it? So he says start the highlights first.
Okay.
That's his strategy, and it's really good in the video.
All right, so Trevarian's is this the contrast?
I really like that guy. He's got a lot of good videos, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And this is on YouTube?
Yeah.
And then if people want to like watch your see your hobby stuff, your little journey on Twitter, who do they follow?
At Andrew Yells.
At Andrew Yells. So draw the lines at washes and dry brushing. Lost me highlights and transitions. I draw the line. Washes and you're Dustin. You and me we're right there, buddy.
Washes are a waste of time, dude. Don't do washes.
Why are washes a waste of time?
Just start painting with your dark color. Start with the darkest color and then work up.
Oh, I see. All right, man. Thanks for joining me tonight. Any closing thoughts?
No, bring on the good armies.
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah, stuff is good. Little fix to Slanesh and everything's great. I mean, the game is fun. It's interesting.
Yeah. Bring on the fun. Bring on the interesting armies. I'd rather see it.
Give me a new Siege book. Keep the change host, please.